as far as age, my grandmother used to say, "You're as old as you feel." Okay, and even though I'm going to be 67 in October, okay, and Felix will be what, 64?
I'm going to be 65 in November.
65 in November, okay, and but I don't feel it at all. I feel that being a teacher and thinking young, at least in mind and spirit, has kept me young. Okay, health-wise, there are days when I feel like a kid, and then there are days when I'm dragging. So I mean, that happens to everybody.
Now let me ask you: do you find,
You're old enough to be my kid.
Your parents and we're around the same age. Do you find it easy talking to us or your parents? Thanks.
You have to understand, we beg to be belittled. Okay, it's in our nature. It's we learn from being married so long. Okay, so that's the key.
This is the only freedom we have. You know, twice a week we go on the radio. That's it.
I said to my son, the day last Saturday, before we left for the venue, for the hall, I printed on his Facebook page. I said, "Today you will truly learn what being king of the castle really means." I said, "You will learn your place in life."
No, he won't learn it for another 6 months.
Oh, I don't know. Hey, listen, there are those people that say that the honeymoon is still going on years later. I say all the more power to them as I watch their noses grow, Actually, I did not give him any advice at all. I said to him, part of my speech was I said that a lot of people are giving you advice, be they friends or relatives or in-laws, and I said advice should be taken like medicine, in small doses and very infrequently. I said, because you and Brittany, that's his wife's name, you and Brittany are going to be making your own history and learn from your own mistakes, and what works for some people may not work for you. Okay, therefore I'm not giving you any advice at all, except to keep the lines of communication open. Because when you stop talking and when there's no exchange, or you can't feel free to express how you really feel because you're afraid of hurting someone's feelings, well, that begins the breakdown of a relationship. Because you marry someone. Thank you. One of the things I said at his wedding also was, women cry when they're happy. I said, I don't remember an affair where so many young men were crying. Now, of course, if Felix was there, he would have said, because he couldn't make it because of Mary's health, but, Felix would have turned to me and said, are they crying because there goes another one, like the group Queen says, another one bites the dust, you know, or because, you know, it's true, you know, about marriage. And, you know, I put my foot in my mouth enough times in life, okay? I have learned to be a very good listener. Sometimes I will comment, sometimes I won't, you know, but certain things have to be, you know, learned between husband and wife, you know. Have I been perfect? Hell no. You know, I mean, I've made my fair share of mistakes. Oh yeah.
No mistakes from Mark.
No, I do have one student, however, who lives in Boston now, and you know, one of my favorite movies was Dead Poets Society, and yeah, I told her class, her ninth grade class, when I had them about 25 years ago. I told them that you can call me Mr. Dixon or Captain My Captain from Whitman's poem about Lincoln. And she refers to me as, oh, Captain My Captain, you know, which I think is great because we have that mutual respect for each other. You know, and it's nice when things like that happen, you know, when, yes. To me, it's the greatest subject to teach. If I had to teach another subject, it would be history. Because, as George Santayana said, those who don't learn by history are doomed to repeat it. And we find ourselves making similar mistakes. We as people. Make similar, you know, with the breakdown of society and the lack of respect that used to be back when I was a kid for authority. Okay, it's just not there anymore. That's not to say that there wasn't poverty, there weren't ghettos, or in Europe there weren't shtetls. You know, all these things are wrong. You know, but people are trying to find the easy way out. And I can see this because let's just take Baltimore, the recent, you know, riots in Baltimore. What did they post on Facebook? They post a picture of a kid running out of the CVS with a handful of candy. Is that candy going to change his economic status at all? Or another guy had a bunch of condoms, okay? And of course, conservative pundits are saying, you know, how are those condoms going to change his life? And then you hear the kids themselves say, well, we loot and riot out of frustration because we really have nothing else to do. You know, they complain that the police don't look at them as, you know, people, you know, right. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because by acting that way, all they're doing is continuing, you know, the expectations of what authority sees in them, you know, that, well, this is how they are. And the sad thing is that it's not only the kids. You know, they had a couple of adults who, you know, college professors, who grew up in the neighborhood, and it was through education that they managed to escape, which is what everybody is trying to say, you know. But for many of the youth, they find it easier to take the excuse that I was born into this and it'll never change, when, well, change comes from within. You have to change your expectations and view of how you see things in order to elevate yourself and rise above what you see around you. Not everybody escapes the ghetto, but there are success stories. I don't believe, in what Ben Carson espouses politically, but Ben Carson was a gangbanger, okay, and he turned his life around, and he became the preeminent neurosurgeon of children in the country at Johns Hopkins. It didn't just happen overnight. I know somebody who I think I mentioned online who worked as an x-ray tech with my wife in the hospital, and he used to go to school, take his classes, and he used to play his guitar and get high. And he graduated from St. George's Medical School, became a doctor. But not just a doctor. In his eulogy it said that his patients couldn't say enough good things about him because he was the old-fashioned family practice doctor. He cared about your health and he cared about the health of your family. Okay.
You see, Chad, here's the problem. We talk about Mark being a good listener, but he doesn't have to worry about it. He doesn't let anybody else talk to listen.
That's
so he has to listen.
I know. I do have to shut up. I apologize.
But
that.
No problem.
Well, it's all right. Felix will probably put a few songs on.
No, I got to talk to you about something else anyway. Chad, we'll talk to you in a few minutes. You
Okay.
can just leave it on hold. One of the things you're talking about in Baltimore, the same week when that officer got killed, there were 11 murders in Baltimore. 8 of them were black on black.
Oh, it's the crime rate is terribly tipped in favor of minority violence against minority. It's rarely the other way.
There was a book, and I don't know who wrote it, where they followed I don't remember how many, 250 Baltimore youths from poor white neighborhoods and poor black neighborhoods, and also the more affluent. The affluent, 50%, one of them went to college. The poor whites, average was 11th grade. The poor blacks, average was 10 grades. The whites and blacks would get the same jobs, but the whites were in the same fields, but the poor whites were making twice as much as the blacks.
For the same job.
The same field.
Well, that's no different than what women are complaining about, the inequity.
No, what happened, they would work in construction, but the whites would get the better jobs in construction, and the blacks would be doing the
scut work,
the more menial work. And
well, some of that I know has to do with union. If they belong to a union, there's a union scale. Because believe it or not, the cab driver who took me to the airport last Tuesday, a week ago, we were talking, and he said,